We live in a world that constantly talks about healing. Healing from trauma, from heartbreak, from loss. But few people talk about what healing actually looks like. Because healing is not just a single moment of awakening. It's a long, quiet process of becoming whole again, healing the wounded child inside of you. We don't just heal from physical pain. We also heal from emotional wounds, spiritual wounds, and the invisible fractures within our soul. Carl Jung believed that healing, or individuation, as he called it, is the process of becoming the person you were meant to be before the world told you who you had to be. And in that process, there are signs, small, powerful signals that your psyche is slowly coming back into balance. So today, we'll talk about 10 signs that you're starting to heal, according to both Jungian psychology and modern research on emotional recovery. 1. You begin to feel what you've avoided. For a long time, many of us live disconnected from our feelings. We suppress anger, grief, shame, because they're uncomfortable or even terrifying. But healing begins when you start feeling again. When emotions you once numbed start to resurface, not to overwhelm you, but to be released. Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And neuroscience supports this. Studies from Harvard and Stanford show that emotional suppression increases stress hormones and anxiety, while emotional awareness reduces them. So if you've found yourself crying more lately, or feeling emotions you used to bury, that's not weakness. That's the body and psyche beginning to trust you again. Growing up, I learned very early that certain emotions weren't welcome. Sadness, anger, frustration, those were signs of weakness or disrespect. If I cried, I was told to stop. If I got angry, I was told to calm down. So I did what so many of us do. I buried those feelings so deeply that after a while, I didn't even know where they went. I became the calm one, the one who never got upset, never complained, never cried. Years later, I was visiting a friend's home, and something unexpected happened. We were sitting in her kitchen, and her younger brother got upset about something small, I don't even remember what. But instead of silence or tension, I watched their parents comfort him. They let him cry, they allowed his anger to be seen. No one told him to stop, no one told him to be good. And I don't know why, but something inside me broke open in that moment. I went home that evening and sat alone in my room. And for the first time in my adult life, I cried. Not because something had just happened, but because I realized how long I'd been holding everything in. I cried for the child who was never allowed to. I cried for the years I spent pretending to be fine. And as the tears came, it was as if my body finally exhaled after decades of holding its breath. That night, I understood something profound. Feeling isn't weakness, it's truth. And truth is where healing begins. 2. You stop needing to control everything. Healing brings humility. You start to realize that not everything can or should be controlled. In Jungian terms, this means you're letting go of the ego's tight grip and allowing the self, the deeper, wiser part of your psyche, to guide the way. You no longer fight life at every turn, you begin to trust its flow. Modern psychology calls this psychological flexibility, the ability to adapt to change, tolerate uncertainty, and accept emotions. Research from the University of Cambridge found that this trait strongly predicts mental health and resilience. So if you've stopped forcing outcomes or worrying about every detail, you're not giving up. You're beginning to heal. 3. You make peace with your past. Jung believed that the shadow holds our unresolved past, all the experiences we rejected or couldn't process. Healing happens when we finally turn around and face them. You no longer try to rewrite your story. You begin to accept it. Acceptance doesn't mean approval, it means you stop running. You begin to see your pain as something that shaped you, not something that defines you. Therapists often call this integration. It's when you can tell your story without collapsing into it. There's one memory from my early childhood that stayed hidden for a long time. I had hurt myself badly. I remember the shock of seeing blood and not really understanding what had happened. I expected comfort, a hug, someone to tell me it was going to be okay. But instead, my mother reacted with anger. She yelled, and then she left the room. I didn't have words for it back then, but something inside me froze. The pain from the wound wasn't what stayed with me, it was the silence afterward. The feeling that being hurt made me unworthy of care. So I buried that memory so deep that I almost forgot it existed. For years it lived somewhere under the surface, shaping how I saw myself, how I reacted when I made mistakes, even how I connected with others. When I finally allowed that memory to come back, I didn't relive it with the same sharp pain. I saw it with new eyes. I could feel compassion for that little version of me who just needed comfort and didn't get it. And in that moment, the memory softened. It didn't disappear, but it lost its grip. That's what healing feels like sometimes, not erasing the past, but meeting it again with understanding instead of fear. For you notice your triggers, but they do control you anymore. Once you start integrating the shadow, you become more conscious of your emotional triggers. You can feel the reaction coming, but instead of exploding, you pause. That pause is healing. It means your nervous system is re-regulating. It means you're no longer being run by old patterns. Jung described this as the process of making the unconscious conscious. When you bring awareness to what once controlled you, you take your power back. Neuroscience confirms this too. Mindfulness and emotional regulation physically rewire the brain's pathways between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, giving you more control over emotional impulses. So when you notice that you can stay calm in situations that once triggered you, you're healing. 5. You speak more honestly. Healing isn't only about feeling, it's also about expressing. You begin to speak your truth even when your voice shakes. In the past, you might have stayed quiet to keep the peace. But now, peace no longer means silence, it means truth. This is the moment you reclaim your authentic voice. And that's a key part of individuation, allowing the self to express itself fully through you. 6. You begin to enjoy solitude. In the early stages of healing, solitude can feel like loneliness. But as you grow, it begins to feel sacred. You start to enjoy your own company. You begin to sense that your inner world has richness, that silence is not empty, but full of wisdom. Carl Jung himself spent long periods in solitude at his house in Bollingen, by Lake Zurich. He wrote, "Solitude is for me a fount of healing which makes my life worth living." Research agrees. Solitude, when chosen consciously, increases creativity, emotional stability, and inner peace. So if you found yourself craving quiet moments instead of constant distraction, that's a sign your inner life is healing. 7. You take responsibility without shame. Healing doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that's gone wrong. It means taking responsibility for what you can change, your reactions, your boundaries, your choices, without drowning in guilt. This is maturity of the soul. When you start saying, "This part of my life is mine to heal," you move from victimhood to empowerment. You stop waiting for someone else to fix you. You become your own healer. 8. You start attracting different people. As you heal, your energy changes, and so does your circle. You stop chasing those who drain you, and start attracting people who see and respect your true self. This isn't magic, it's resonance. When your internal vibration rises, when you no longer need external validation, you naturally align with people on a similar wavelength. In Jungian terms, this means your inner archetypes are balancing. You no longer unconsciously seek in others what's missing in yourself. Psychological research calls this attachment repatterning. When we heal attachment wounds, we form healthier, more secure relationships based on respect, not need. So if you've noticed some people leaving your life and new, calmer connections forming, that's not loss, that's growth. 9. You feel grateful for the hard times. This is one of the clearest signs of deep healing. You begin to look back at your pain and think, that experience broke me open, but it also built me. You see meaning in what once felt meaningless. Jung called this the process of transcendence. It's when opposites, pain and joy, darkness and light, integrate into a larger understanding. Modern studies in post-traumatic growth show the same. Many people report greater appreciation for life, deeper relationships, and increased inner strength after trauma when it's processed, not avoided. Gratitude is not pretending everything was fine. It's realizing that your suffering gave birth to your wisdom. 10. You start to feel whole. This is the culmination of all healing, the return to wholeness. You no longer see yourself as broken, but as complete. Not perfect, but whole. You stop identifying with one side of yourself, the strong, the weak, the good, the bad, and realize they're all parts of the same being. This is what Jung called individuation. The union of the conscious and the unconscious, the light and the dark, into one harmonious self. You realize there was never anything wrong with you. You were simply fragmented, and now you're coming home. Closing reflections. Healing doesn't look dramatic. It looks like softness returning to your voice. It looks like laughter coming more easily. It looks like peace after years of internal chaos. It's quiet, it's personal, and it's powerful. If you recognize yourself in these signs, know this. You're not done healing, because healing is not a destination. It's a lifelong relationship with yourself. Every time you choose awareness over avoidance, compassion over shame, truth over silence, you're healing. And as Jung said, I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. So keep choosing, keep becoming, keep healing, because this is the power in you.